You are now entering the horror sanctum.
Hello and welcome back to the Horror Sanctum podcast. I'm Jay with Kellen and TJ. And before we get into this week's movie, we have a new co-host to announce. Co-host, why don't you go ahead and say hello and introduce yourself?
My name is John. I'm a longtime fan, first-time caller.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. John Cressup, aka Movie Junkie John, has joined the Sanctum once again, and we could not be happier. We were thinking who would be the perfect co-host to replace John. Naturally, the answer was John. We had to adjust his NIL deal, but we got the numbers worked out, and he will be staying here with us. So, now for the task at hand. Found footage movies, I think we all agree, are hit and miss. Right? There's a few really, really good ones, but mostly they're terrible. But in 2022, Joseph and Vanessa Winter hit, at least in my opinion, with the horror comedy found footage flick, Deadstream.
Rip headphone users. I'm so sorry. Deadstream. If you've seen it, you'll get the reference. If not, so sorry about your hearing. But just imagine a world where a streamer maybe films a dead body in an area that's known for suicides and then gets canceled by becoming a WWE superstar.
Wait a minute.
No, this is actually more what reality should be. A disgraced internet personality attempts to win back his followers by live streaming a night alone in a haunted house, but then things get squirrely when he finds out it's actually haunted.
Which word did you replace with squirrely?
I replaced the whole sentence.
Squirrely works so much better when
vengeful spirit. But yeah, Deadstream 2022's Deadstream. It has a 92% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes, which is perfect because this movie. I'm going to describe this movie with two words, and then I'm going to explain. This movie is nearly flawless.
Yay! I was so afraid you'd hate this.
No, this as for what this movie is trying to do in its space, for being a disgraced internet personality who's trying to win back his fans, this movie is as close to flawless as you can get. Is it a 5-star movie? No, we'll get to that in a minute. But for what this movie is trying to accomplish, I think it does almost perfectly, down to the internet comments throughout the stream, the people making fun of the pot marks on his face, because we know that the internet is a dumpster fire, post-apocalyptic wasteland of hot garbage all the time. You could literally have a post of somebody saving a kitten and somebody would make some kind of negative comment about it. You can't win. And that's what happens to this guy. They don't really ever directly say what he did, but they tell you enough throughout the movie to kind of piece together that a homeless man probably died during one of the stunts where he hired him to fight him, because he alludes to the guy was already sick. He didn't know he was sick. It wasn't his fault. He was acquitted. So that's why I made the allusion to internet personality turned wrestler Logan Paul, because if anybody should have been canceled at some point in time, it should have been him. But here we are, drinking our prime drinks. But I digress. Deadstream is one of those, like Jay said, it's a unicorn in the found footage genre. It's so well done. The pacing is great. The things that happen are believable. Of course not the sorry, I had a gnat by my face. Not the ghosts and demons and whatever. That's not right. But the way he portrays being a streamer is so dead on to the world of streaming. If you've watched any YouTube live, any TikTok live, what's the Twitch? If you've watched any Twitch streams, this is almost identical to what it is, where they stop mid whatever they're doing to read the comments. They're so obsessed with that. And that's this character. That's what puts him in this situation. He's so obsessed with being liked on the internet, like most of society now, that he is willing to literally put his life on the line for some thumbs up and comments on a video. Where this movie does really well is all of the secondary characters minus Chrissy are almost like what's cameos. It's like they just pop in for a second. They're not there to do anything except advance the plot enough to keep the movie moving. Um, it just the way it unfolds, it and with spoilers, Chrissy being the demon that's haunting the house, and the little tidbits that come along the way. Yeah, there's some of it that's kind of hokey, some of it's goofy, and that's what this is trying. It's a horror comedy, but it works in the space that it is, and that is because of Joseph Winter, who's the director and stars in the film. The way he portrays that character, some of the scenes are, I would say, iconic. The scene with the finger up his nose, as dumb and goofy as that is, it's such iconic imagery. The scene where he's in the tub water and he's eating the eyeball with his eyes glassed over. Even the sheriff coming into the car after him, and impaling himself on the potato gun. There's just so many little sight gags and different things they do in this movie. They do so well. Whoever did the special effects makeup for this did a fantastic job. I can't imagine they had much of a budget. So whoever they did that, kudos to them, because a lot of it looks really good. Some of the Chrissy scenes, not so much, but when you get to the end and all of the different demonic ghosts start coming out, they look super creepy. The little kid in the room. I mean, it does good with its jump scares. It does good with balancing the comedy to horror ratio, because sometimes a lot of the horror comedy genre goes too hard in one direction or not hard enough in the other. So it's like they don't know where they want to settle it. I think this one finds a happy medium between being funny and being terrifying at scenes. And last thing I'll say, and I'll pass it on to John, but this movie succeeds in minimalism, right? Because and that's where I think a lot of movies today kind of get lost in the weeds. There's something really terrifying to all of us about being alone in a house, even in your own home. If your wife, kids, husband, family, whatever, are not there and you're home alone by yourself for the night, I think all of us at some point in time hears a sound and it's like, is that somebody coming to kill me? is there somebody else in here that I don't know? Even though it's irrational, and even though we all would probably just sit there and be like, well, it's my time, and continue watching whatever movie or TV show you're watching. But that feeling of being alone is so terrifying. And when he locks that door, like there's just a little sense of dread that washes over it. Even though up until that point it's been goofy, it's been it's almost a pure comedy up to the point that he puts that lock on the door. But once you know that he's in there by himself, you know something's going to happen, and you're just there's that pit of your stomach where you're like, I just need to know what's going to happen. And I think that's when horror movies really succeed, when they can get your anticipation up for what's coming before it comes. And to do that in a horror comedy, this movie, like I said, just knocks it out of the park. But John, welcome back, and let's see what you got to think.
Thank you. I think I first heard about this around 2020, right when it came out. I didn't see it, but just based on what I saw from like the trailer and the looks, I assumed that I would not like it because I'm pretty picky on found footage films, and I love found footage films, but I just kind of thought this was not going to work. I really liked this movie. I thought it was pretty fucking awesome, honestly. The first thing about it, though, that took me out is the tone. It kind of reminds me a bit of The Monkey, in that once you figure out the tone of The Monkey and what they're doing, it's brilliant. It's a great movie. Same thing with this movie. I think at first I couldn't figure out what they were doing, because everything in this movie works as far as building up suspense. Like when he's walking around putting the cameras up and stuff, like you've got the suspense where you don't know what's going to happen. You think a ghost is going to be behind him. You think something's going to pop up. And his personality is, he's cringy like a lot of these YouTubers like Logan Paul. He's got a little bit of that Dan Bale thing going on. Like Dan Bale goes into haunted or scary places, abandoned places. So you don't know if this is him or if he's putting on a persona. And throughout the movie, I thought for the first half, I was like, I wonder if he's just set all this up as a joke. Like maybe the Mildred girl is somebody working with him. Maybe because even the way he was reacting, sometimes I was like, is he setting something up? Is this a joke? And then you realize, no, this guy is just a complete total doofus. And he's just in this terrible situation. And once you figure out that tone and you get that it's like Evil Dead, it's a little bit of that kind of stuff going on. It's a blast. Like it's so much fun. And it's the first thing I thought of was the monkey when I watched it. Is it has that feel of like the monkey, only the monkey was probably like darker with the deaths and stuff, but same kind of vibe where it's that zany like horror comedy. But everything in this really works. You know, the I love that he's got like the John Carpenter scores. He's walking through the house and stuff. The cameras were funny. I laughed so hard when he took the beef jerky and put beef cam. Oh my God, that was so funny. I think I kind of called a lot of the steps as they went, which we probably all did, you know. Chrissy being Mildred, I kind of figured pretty early because she was acting weird. And how the hell was she there? So I kind of figured that was who that was. It's kind of funny. He does all those things to get rid of like his keys. I laughed. He took his spark plugs and threw them in the woods, which is hilarious because you know that's a chore in itself taking spark plugs out of a car. But that was pretty funny. But it does feel like it could be a VHS film, like maybe in a way. It could be its own VHS movie, like VHS Deadstream. It has that vibe to it. And it's one of those things where the first 30, 40 minutes, like I was actually kind of nervous and scared watching it. I was watching it on a big screen, or instead of my phone, I was watching it on TV, and I was like kind of nervous because I did not know what was going to happen. I didn't spoil anything. And I think, you know, once you're in for the tone, it's a lot of fun. And then towards the end, it just goes batshit crazy. Like things just, it's like a haunted house. Everything starts happening and they start throwing shit at the wall. It's like, it just turns into like Night at the Demons at the end of it, right? It's just crazy. And you were talking about the fingernail in the nose thing. That is so funny. I don't know why. For that's such a funny thing to do to somebody.
And they do it at
Um,
least like 3 times.
Yeah, yeah, that's like a running joke. It's just that's so funny. I thought the whole at the very end when they're fighting each other and she puts the rag on him and starts pouring the piss on him. I was like laughing so hard at that because I felt like that's in a way what we as normal people want to do to like Logan and Jake Paul is we just want to like throw piss on them, you know. But overall, you know, kind of the same thing Kellen said. I think the characters work. I think the effects work. It builds up suspense, and it's a great horror comedy. You know, his acting is a little like he's very over the top, but it's perfect for that character once you figure out what he's doing. Um, I really hope they don't ever do a sequel to this because I think this is just perfect. And yeah, I really liked it.
It's interesting that you said VHS because I was just looking to see what else Jonathan, isn't that his name, or is it Joseph?
Joseph
Joseph
Winter.
Winters. Jonathan Winters. That was an old comedian. Uh, apparently he's in some segment in VHS 99, I believe. So, and I know that before directing this, which he directed with his wife, Vanessa, that he has done a number of short films like on YouTube. Nothing major, but it's obvious that you can see the building blocks. I've watched most of them on his YouTube channel.
Melanie Stone, who plays Chrissy, was also listed in the cast of VHS 99.
Interesting. Yeah. I haven't watched that one. I need to watch that one. Um, so it's cool to there's actually a few decent little shorts that he's got on his YouTube channel. It's mostly comedy type stuff, obviously. And you can kind of see the building blocks of where they were inching up to doing this, but nothing prepared me like if I had just been following his YouTube shorts, I there's a massive leap from the best one of those to this. It's a major gap up, and it's quite impressive what they were able to do, especially when I looked more into it. they filmed the bulk of this in the one house. It was a practical location. It's an actual house that was used in a 1999 Jim Belushi, Timothy Dalton movie for HBO called Made Men, which actually has a much lower uh, rating and score than this film. But they did the bulk of the shooting in 7 days, which is, I mean, amazing. I can imagine that they could get a lot more done with a tight crew, only a handful of characters, and probably people, them doing everything, probably. But just to know that they were under that kind of pressure to get all the footage and all the things they need and all of the coverage and the reactions and all the stuff, and basically, 7 shooting days is even more impressive than what they were able to pull off on what was obviously a low budget. Also, I'm wondering, uh, since John was talking about the waterboarding with the piss, I wonder what it's called when you waterboard somebody with piss. Is it pisser boarding?
A kink.
Well,
It's called a kink. Yeah, that's.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a
that's
cake.
We'll
that's
text you the name.
the name. Okay.
DM us if you want to know
Yeah,
the name.
right. Uh, and stickers. We'll give you stickers too. Anyway, I mean, I love this movie. It's obviously, if I had seen the monkey, I saw this when it first come out, like Jay probably did. It was a Shudder original. I own the DVD of it. Uh, it's got some cool special features on the DVD for people that are fans. I'm not sure if it has a Blu-ray. Does it have a Blu-ray now, Jay?
Yeah, Blu-ray Steelbook.
Oh,
actually, yeah.
very, very nice, very nice. Anyway, obviously, this guy is a huge Sam Raimi Evil Dead fan. The slapstick, the way that the ghost ghouls look very much like Deadites and behave very much like Deadites, or like uh, the characters in Drag Me to Hell, that kind of thing. It's very much a Sam Raimi slapstick, Three Stooges. It's in that world almost. Even using the Clock 2 Verada Nikto from the Army of Darkness phrasing. Uh, Such a love letter to Sam Raimi and Evil Dead universe, which I love. I love the goofiness of it. That wasn't what I was expecting when I first read this, because I watched this the first time, uh, because all of the little bit of press and stuff I'd seen of it made it kind of look like a straight thing with just an annoying like internet character, which he plays that to a T. Obviously, Kellen said Logan Paul's the kind of the one for one that most people familiar with YouTube personalities that have been disgraced and try and make a comeback. I mean, that's kind of the one most people come to mind. And I mean, he plays the character well. I love a lot of the, I think it's just visual effects shots and stuff that they added in to make it look like there's audience engagement with the comments and the back and forth. As I was watching it back for the show, it made me realize that even though a vast majority of the film is just this guy's face swapping between this guy's face and what he's seeing in a pretty empty room and just reactions, where so much of the beats and the suspense and the interest comes is his back and forth engagement. It's like you're actually watching a live stream, which is the genius of this. I've not seen any feature length horror found footage that has done this that well and has made what would normally be kind of a boring or like, okay, let's get to the point kind of scene where nothing's really happening, the back and forth between the character and his audience and his desire, that built-in backstory you have from the first few minutes of, oh, I've got to do anything to get my audience back because it's my subscribers, it's my money, it's my meal ticket, it's you you buy into that. You buy into the desperation of this character, and I thought that was a genius way of not only being able to do a lot with a little, but also for the character engagement and for audience engagement. For us, our viewing experience, it feels like a lot more is happening even before all the shit hits the fan. The last 30 minutes, a lot's actually happening. So I thought the setup of this, yeah, it does take about 30 minutes or so to get used to the tone and know what kind of movie you're in. But then once you're in, you just strap in and enjoy the ride because it's a great slapstick B movie. It's the only found footage movie I've seen pull off that tone well. And for me, this is a top 5 found footage movie for me. I love this. But what did you think, Jay?
Well, I agree. I have in my notes top 5, top 10 found footage for sure. Definitely funniest, best found footage horror comedy. I think, Kellen came out with it out of the gate. Like we all kind of have certain internet celebrities that we can't stand and we would love to waterboard them with urine. Also, I think we should call that headboarding. That's just my thing, headboarding. But so seeing Sean Ruddy in this situation was great. And like, will we not want to see Logan Paul do the same thing if ghosts and shit were real? We would die for that. I'm disappointing Kellen in his take because he didn't say who made him watch this fucking movie.
I don't remember.
He doesn't remember on my couch beside me holding my hand when he got scared. But I made him watch this movie, and he's a better man for it. The only I will say,
I'm starting to think you're trying to set me up so that you can murder me by making me watch all these found footage movies at your house. Because I watched Creep with you.
well, that's where I was going. I was like,
this one.
I will say, Creep 1 and 2 are better, right? And maybe do it. The comedy's different between the two, but Creep 1 and Creep 2 are definitely go hand in hand. What this movie reminded me of was Onyx. Bowser's character, like the mannerisms and probably the tism and everything else. Like that would be a good double feature. I was telling you guys the first time I watched it, I was like, it's okay. The finger thing didn't. I think all you guys thought was hilarious the first run, and I was like, why? And the other issues I had were I liked the chat. And I went back and read some, and he comments on some. I'll skip that too. But like the random people popping up with their knowledge of the situation, that was a little cringy for me. That was probably the worst part of the film. But I'm not in this community, and I'm sure that happens, right? Like I'm sure stuff like that does happen. But to me, that didn't play. The chat was funny. The funniest one I picked out was towards the end after Chrissy had already turned back into Mildred and a demon, and someone says, anyone else think Chrissy's still hot? And I said, that totally is society. That is society right there. He nailed it. He nailed our generation. That was hilarious. And then another part, which Kellen probably picked up on. I didn't pick up the first time I watched it, but the most recent time in the comments, someone said, you're nuts, but they spelled it Y-O-U-R. And he's like, you're nuts. He's like, yeah, what about him? And like that was hilarious to me, and it's not something you catch right off the bat, but when you go back and watch it a few times, you see some of the comments, and it's all funny. It plays so well, and yeah, I saw it when it first came out, sat on it. Steelbook came out, got to have it, But after watching it again, this is definitely one of my favorite films. Horror, just in general, like it's so fun. The pacing's great. His acting's fantastic. And like his scream, we love his scream. So he just gets so scared. That whole scene outside was one of my favorite scenes with the cop showing up. Also, how's he that ignorant to not realize that's the guy? Photos, but everybody's like, that's him. That's him. And the potato gun, the beef jerky, where he names it Beef Cam. I'm like, why wouldn't he? Because that's the kind of person he is, right? It's just all funny, start to finish. I adore it. And when I adore something, I make people sit on my couch beside me and watch it. Even though they don't mention it on certain podcasts, but it's another movie. Like I wanted to make Lindsay watch it, like, because I think she'll like it. Like it's ridiculous, it's funny, and it's also scary. And it's a very, very hard thing to pull off for some reason. I feel like we could all sit down and write something that's all those things. That's probably just our egos, but it's definitely something everybody should watch. And I don't want a sequel either, but I would love for him to make something else. An alien movie, that would be fun to see him take on that. So honestly, there's not a lot more to say than what's already been said. So we'll go around, give our rankings, and close up shop. Kellen?
So like I said in the beginning, this is a nearly flawless film, but it is not a 5-star movie. It has its flaws. It's fun. It's a great watch. I've seen it twice now, and I've enjoyed it both times. Like I said, for the genre that they are parodying, it's almost perfect, just the way it plays out. But as far as just as a film in general, I would give it a 3.5.
I thought that was going to be higher. I thought it was going to be higher. John?
This is a very unique movie. I don't think I've ever seen anything with this kind of tone in a film. Even the found footage, like it's so distinct. And the only thing that's similar, and Jay, you're gonna like hate when I bring this up, is Bad Ben. If you've ever seen the Bad Ben series, those are so dumb, and they're about this guy in a house, and it's like a haunted house. And I've watched a lot of them because they were just something to watch. But this is way better. I think like you're talking about the Deadites, TJ. I agree. Mildred, there's definitely like a Deadite quality there, but overall, like my rating has kind of changed on it. Initially, I was like a 3.5, but like the more I think about it, I might have to go 4 out of 5 on this. I think it's great, and yeah, definitely want to watch it again.
Talking about Deadites,
and
if you've noticed, my picture is like a direct ripoff of Evil Dead. The cover.
Wait, did you make that? Or
No, this is actually one of the posters you can find online. It's the finger going up his nose, but him reaching out of the dirt like
which is clearly that's the original poster of Evil Dead.
Yeah,
That's
right,
great.
TJ?
This is a 4 out of 5 for me. Really, the first time I watched it, and it just solidifying it as I've watched it again. It like everybody said, it's such a unique tone, and it's so hard to like. Some people do horror comedy well, but horror comedy I think is maybe the hardest to do really well. But what's even harder is to actually have moments in it that are tense and scary, but still keep the comic tone. And I think this film does it as good as anything. And it knows the assignment. It does it well. It executes it perfectly. It's not a flawless movie. It was never made to be a flawless movie, but 4 out of 5, solid, very rewatchable.
It also doesn't outstay its welcome.
Right.
Sometimes found footage can do that, even with the essentially slow start to the film. It just doesn't feel that way.
Yeah. If this was 20 minutes longer, rating would probably go down. It'd lose a lot of steam.
Yeah. So I gave it a 4. Like easily a 4, like closer to a 4.5 than 3.5 for me. It's just because of that rewatchability and how much fun you have every time you watch it. Like I said, watching it this most recent time, I found things that I didn't notice the first time around or the second. So it's one of those movies you can go back and revisit often. You can share with people. So it's a 4. That gives us a 3.87. We'll call it a 4.
And, in terms of noticing things you didn't notice the first time around, I actually was surprised. I'm the dumbass that just totally suspends my belief and goes in and trying to figure out. I was surprised by the Chrissy Mildred turn. And then the second time I watched it, I noticed when he was saying about how bullshit her poetry was, she gives him that dead stare, like, it's not stupid. They're not stupid.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
Yeah, they were brag. I mean, I think from the jump, I'm like, okay, I see what's happening here. So, all right. That's going to be it for this episode. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. Is that what the YouTubers say? I don't know.
Make sure
we
you hit
should
the
do that
notification
more.
bell so you don't miss any of my new future videos.
Shit like that. I don't know. Follow us and subscribe to wherever you listen to this podcast. Join our Facebook group. Follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and come back next week. Same Sanctum time, same Sanctum channel. Signing off, I'm Jay with John, Kellen, and TJ. And until next time,
Keep it spooky.
now entering
The Horror Sanctum.